If power had a perfume, Amara wore that perfume as long as anyone could remember. It wasn't in the expensive scent that followed her when she walked into the glass tower of Arin's group, but in the quiet confidence that made people step aside when she passed. At 29, she was the youngest director in her father's empire, a young woman whose poise could silence a room and whose ideas could double a company's revenue. The staff whispered about her brilliance, some in awe, others in envy, and she sees you through, before you could think of your next move. She was beauty and brain woven into one. Tall, ebony-toned, with eyes that glowed like the evening sky after rainfall. When she spoke, her voice carried that rare balance between softness and command. But behind the shimmer of her success was a silence that came with being admired by everyone, yet known by no one. Have you ever had everything you thought you wanted, only to realize something was still missing? Amara did. Every night, she returned to her penthouse overlooking the Lagos lagoon to the left, and to the right, the city, the skyline sparkling beneath her window, and wondered why her laughter never echoed long enough. Her father, Chief Arins, was the man who built empires out of ideas, and people out of opportunities. To him, Amara was his crown jewel. She was the evidence that his legacy would outlive him. Yet, like most powerful men, he believed love was a distraction, and vulnerability a weakness. Amara, he would say, swirling his evening brandy, you are too brilliant to be thinking about men. Focus on the company for now, and men will come later. Men did come, in tailored suits and practiced smiles, but Amara never had any iota of interest. Not because of her father, but because she on her own, wasn't interested. But she saw through them all, the ones who wanted her for her face, her father's name, or her access to power. How do you give your heart to someone when you can't trust their reasons for holding it? And so, Amara built invisible walls, high and elegant. Until that morning when her car's tires scraped the curb in front of a little roadside kiosk on the edge of Victoria Island, and she met the man who would one day save her life, the cobbler. His name was Chuka, a man of quiet hands and stubborn hope. He wasn't born with much, but he had the kind of dignity that no poverty could steal. His small wooden stand was tucked between a palm tree and a billboard advertising luxury wristwatches he could never afford. Every day, he polished shoes that stepped into meetings he would never attend. He repaired the leather of the powerful, while walking in shoes that had seen better days. But still, he smiled, because sometimes, gratitude is the only wealth a man carries. That day, Amara's driver had pulled over. "Madam, it's just a quick stop. You said you needed to fix your shoe before you get to the office?" She nodded. "Yes, the strap is loose and it keeps falling." Chuka looked up from where he was bent over another customer's sandal. His gaze met hers, not with intimidation, but with curiosity. He had seen beauty before, but never so composed, so untouchable. "Good morning, madam," he said with a steady voice. "Let me see the shoe." She extended her foot slightly. He bent down and his rough fingers traced gently on the soft leather. "Nah, small thing," he said, half to himself. "But these foreign shoes get pride sometimes." She chuckled softly, surprised that anyone dared make a joke in her presence. He looked up, smiling. "Ah, she laughs too." Could that be the moment that the invisible wall had a little cracked? Isn't it strange how the universe uses the simplest moments to rearrange destinies? He repaired the shoes and Amara thanked him, paid, and left. But something about his calmness stayed with her. It wasn't attraction, not at all. And the neatness of his job tickled her interest, and she thought about the numerous footwears in her wardrobe that needed mending. Most of them were quite expensive and she had been scared of entrusting them with any roadside cobbler. You could hardly notice that there was a repair on the shoe that he had just worked on. It was intrigue. It was supposed to be an ordinary day. The kind of day that begins with sunshine and ends with promises. Amara had just finished a high-stakes meeting in Ikeja with a potential international client. The deal was worth billions. Her team was ecstatic, her father would be proud as usual. The client had even complimented her sharp negotiation skills, saying, "You're tougher than half the men I've met in this business." But her smile that afternoon was softer than usual. As her car glided through the busy streets, it eventually stopped in front of the little kiosk with the blue tarp roof. She hesitated, then waved off her fears and carried the bag containing the shoes that she had gathered, and gave them to him for adjustments and repairs in some. She warned him and expressed her fears before leaving them with him. Few days later, her mind was still pulled to her precious shoes that she had been scared of giving out. So, she directed her driver to take her to Chuka's kiosk, so that she could collect the ones that are ready if not all. At least she would be sure that some are safe with her. They stopped in front of the cobbler's kiosk. "I want to collect my shoes." "Madam, this place no too safe," the driver said, frowning. "I'll be quick," she replied. They parked near the curb. Chuka's kiosk was right there, as she remembered, surrounded by laughter, street music, and the constant hum of Lagos traffic. "Ah, fine madam," Chuka called out, waving his oily rag with a grin. "You came back." She laughed, stepping out in her cream-colored suit, her elegance drawing a few curious eyes. "Did you fix them?" she asked. He lifted the shoebox proudly. "Better than new. Try 'em." She slipped one on, admiring his handiwork. "Perfect," she said. And he smiled, the kind of smile that says, "You don't need to thank me." Then, suddenly, a sounds of gunshot cracked the air. Chaos. Screams. The street scattered like frightened birds. Vendors dove behind stalls. Tires screeched. People ran in every direction, as two rival street mobs had clashed a few meters away from each other, leaving Amara at the cobbler's shop in the middle of it. The air was thick with fear and dust. Amara froze. Her driver shouted, "Madam, enter motor. Enter motor now." But before she could move, a bullet tore through the windshield, glass exploding into her face. The driver panicked and ran away, without looking back. How fast can loyalty disappear when fear knocks at the door? Amara crouched behind her car, trembling, blood trickling from a cut on the back of her hand. Her phone fell, her vision blurred as she hit her head against an unknown object. All around her, chaos raged, people screaming, running, dying. Then she heard a voice, hoarse, urgent. "Madam! This way!" It was Chuka. He sprinted toward her through the madness, dodging bullets, dragging a wooden crate to use as cover. He reached her, grabbed her hand. "Move! Don't stop!" She was too shocked to resist. He pulled her behind his kiosk, then through a narrow alleyway between two buildings. They stumbled into a back street where it was quieter. Only the echo of distant gunfire remained. Her heart pounded like thunder. He tore a piece of cloth from his shirt and pressed it gently to her bleeding hand. "You will be all right," he said softly. "You're safe now." Her voice trembled. You came back for me." He looked at her, eyes steady. "I couldn't just watch. How many people risk their lives for someone who barely knew their name?" They hid there for nearly an hour until the police sirens began to wail. When it was finally safe to move, Chuka led her through the back streets until they reached an area that was saved from the chaos. He led her to the closest hospital. She tried to thank him, but he stopped her and insisted that she stayed saved. "Madam, if you want to thank me, just stay alive," he said, turning away. That night, Amara sat in her room, staring at the blood-stained cloth he'd tied around her hand. She didn't know what she was feeling, fear, gratitude, confusion, she wasn't sure. She needed a recovery from the shock. She remembered a scene at the hospital. A nurse walked into the private room where she was being attended to, at the hospital, and announced that her husband was asking if he could come in and check on her. Amara was confused and surprised. "My husband," she said it more like an exclamation than a question. Almost getting irritated at what she just heard, and the young nurse simply responded, "Yes." Amara stared at the nurse and wasn't sure if she should feel embarrassed or angry. "Let him in," Amara said, eager to see who the person was. Chuka was ushered into the room. Amara simply looked from Chuka to the nurse and calmly looked away. But she was instantly gripped with a warm wave of unexpected surprise. Chuka handed her her cell phone, handbag, and the key to her car. A few doses of breath skipped her lungs when she saw the items which she was convinced were gone with the mob. She realized herself after a tight hug of appreciation, and she gently disengaged her arms around him. She couldn't escape a gently wave of embarrassment, and she quietly said sorry about the hug. "No, madam. I knew that the hospital will not let you go without settling the bill." The moment they started attending to her at the hospital, Chuka had ran back to the scene of the riot that was already airtight with armed policemen. Lucky for him, some of the policemen recognized him as the cobbler that owned the shop, and Amara's vehicle was parked right in front of his shop. He found her phone on the ground, right where she fell, opened the car and got her bag. Then he found the car key and locked it. Amara looked at him one more time and still couldn't believe that he risked his life to save him, and then went back to the scene to retrieve her items for her. Must be an angel. The newspapers called it the mob riot miracle. One of the city's top executives, Amara Arins, had narrowly escaped death after being caught in a gang crossfire that shattered her vehicle with stray bullets. The news spread like wildfire, social media buzzed, blogs wrote headlines filled with exaggerations, and by the next morning, cameras were parked outside the company gate. But no one knew the truth, no one talked about the real hero of the day, no one knew that she had been saved, not by the police, not by her driver, but by a roadside cobbler whose name wasn't even in the story. Amara read the headlines and sighed. People praised her bravery, yet she felt empty. Her hand still bore a faint scar from that day, and every time she looked at it, she remembered him. Why is it that the people who touch your soul the most are often the ones the world ignores? For days, she couldn't stop thinking about the whole incident, and most importantly, Chuka. His courage, his voice, the way his eyes held no fear even in the face of danger. She found herself driving back to that same street, this time without her driver. He was there, polishing shoes under the same palm tree, as if nothing had happened. When she stepped out of her car, heads turned. The cobbler looked up and smiled faintly. "Madam Survivor," he said, cleaning his hand with a hand towel that was stained with polish of different colors. "You came back." She laughed softly. "You are making it sound like I went on vacation." He grinned. "You came back from death. That one was more than a vacation." They both laughed, and something about that laughter made the world feel simple again, and the air was lighter. She felt there was a world just around the corner that was lively and simpler than boardrooms and corporate meetings. She handed him a new pair of shoes. "Fix these for me," she said. He nodded. "Same price?" "Same honesty," she replied. "Thank you for everything. Thank you for saving my life. I will come back and see you some other time because you seem busy now with customers waiting." From that day, she kept returning as though she found a haven in his company. Sometimes to fix shoes, sometimes with food, sometimes with excuses she didn't even believe herself. They would talk about everything: life, struggle, ambition, dreams. Chuka spoke of a small dream to one day open a proper shoe shop, with a sign that bore his name. "Not big, just something that'll outlive me," he said. She admired that he was still ambitious, yet, a man that was content with little, yet rich in purpose. He admired her too. Not as the powerful director, but as Amara, a woman who finally allowed herself to be seen without her crown. Isn't it strange how, when you meet the right person, your silence becomes comfortable and your laughter becomes healing, and life simple flowed with ease? But soon, the whispers began. One afternoon, a fellow director spotted Amara's car near the cobbler's stand. By the next board meeting, the rumor had flown like wildfire: the chief's daughter is seeing a shoemaker. Her mother was the first in the family to hear about it. But she laughed, not in amusement, but disbelief. Amara that had rejected real powerful suitors, she said sternly, "I heard something ridiculous today. I hope your enemies are not trying to bring you down or weaken you. Please tell me it's not true, my dear." She tried to sound calm. "What did you hear, Mom?" "That you are fraternizing with some roadside repairman. Surely, that's beneath you." Amara's chest tightened. "He's not beneath me, Mom. He saved my life." Her mother's eyes darkened. "Gratitude is one thing, Amara. And I am not saying you shouldn't be grateful. Just don't confuse gratitude with affection. But isn't gratitude the soil where true love sometimes grows?" She tried to explain how he made her feel and see life differently outside the corporate world, how his simplicity humbled her. But her mother cut her off. "You're blinded by emotion. People like him don't belong in our world." She left the room with tears that she held back in her eyes with effort. That night, she wrote in her journal, "Maybe love is not about belonging to the same world, maybe it's about building one together." Days turned into weeks. Her visits became less frequent, not because she wanted them to, but because the pressure from family and society began to choke her heart. And yet, one evening, as the sun sank into the horizon and the city's noise dimmed, she found herself again at his kiosk. He looked at her face and saw the weariness. "You must have been heavily flogged with lots of tongue lashing," he said with his eyes, heavy with pity and concern for her. She nodded, trying to smile. "Is it obvious?" He shrugged. "People always talk. But talking does not stop the heart from beating." Silence lingered. Then she whispered, "Chuka, I don't know if this is gratitude, or love." He smiled, not the proud kind, but the understanding kind. "Sometimes, they both come together. One saves your body, while the other saves your soul. How does one argue with a truth spoken that softly?" She stood there, tears glistening, heart trembling, realizing that what she felt wasn't confusion anymore. It was clarity. That night, for the first time, Amara didn't care what her world thought. She knew who had truly seen her, not as the director, not as the chief's daughter, but the woman behind the titles. And that man was a cobbler. It began like every rumor, small, shapeless, and harmless. A whisper in a boardroom. A question in a beauty salon. A smirk from a journalist hungry for clicks. But in Lagos, whispers travel faster than wind. By the end of the week, it wasn't a secret anymore. Director Amara Arin spotted in a love affair with roadside cobbler. Heiress of Arin's group dating a poor artisan. Love or madness? The blogs had their feast. Photos surfaced, grainy shots of her car near Chuka's kiosk, a silhouette of her laughing beside him, one image where their hands almost touched. Within 48 hours, her name became a headline. Within 72, it became a debate. Some said she was courageous, a modern woman who followed her heart. Others said she was crazy, throwing away her class for a man with glue-stained fingers. Why is it that when a rich man marries a poor woman, people call it generosity, they salute and embrace how lucky the girl was? But when a rich woman loves a poor man, they call it madness, criticize her and declare how unlucky and her motive behind it. Amara watched the storm unfolded. The world outside buzzed, her phone vibrated non-stop, but inside her, she maintained her silence. She knew this would happen. She had tried to prepare herself for it, but maybe with a little underestimation. Knowing a storm is coming doesn't make the thunder any quieter. Her mother called her again into the living room one evening. She wasn't shouting, and that made it worse. Because her father was sitting there calmly and had never said anything since the whole haze of gossips and criticism engulfed the mainstream of Lagos. He held his phone and seemed to be doing more of browsing than listening to them. Her mom's voice was calm, heavy with controlled anger. "Amara, tell me this is not true." Amara met her gaze with her eyes steady. "It's true, Mom." She sighed, rubbing her temples. "Do you know what this means for the family name? For your father's company? For me? And what about me, Mom?" she said softly. "Does it mean anything for me?" She looked up sharply. "You're young. You don't understand the weight of legacy. Love is a feeling, but reputation is forever." Her voice trembled. "So I should marry for the company's comfort, not my heart. Not for my own peace of mind." Her mother slammed her, glass down. "You will end this nonsense, Amara. Your father built this empire for you, not for you to throw it away on a man who shines shoes by the roadside." Amara's lips quivered, but she didn't cry. "And he risked his life for me, something even your empire couldn't buy." Silence filled the room. Her mother turned to her husband, Chief Arins, and wondered why he was so quiet about it all. "Chief," she called. "Are you listening to all these nonsense from your daughter?" Chief Arins turned slightly to them. "Amara, are you happy? Is this about him, helping you when you were in danger, or it about you, actually being in love with him?" he asked. "Dad, I feel happy with him," she said. "Is it affecting you and your job?" her father asked again. "Dad, the pressure at home is my problem, not the media," Amara said. "Get your emotion together and make yourself happy. I trust that this is something you can handle without any problems." "Chief, what are you saying? Is that the best advice you can give her? Do you want my friends to continue to laugh at me when their own daughters are getting engaged and married to responsible and powerful young men?" Her mother said furiously. Chief Arins stood up. "She is a grown-up woman. Her decisions have helped the empire that you are talking about to grow. And I trust her decisions. Where do your friends stand in her life? And how much are they contributing to her well-being?" He walked away and left the two women in the living room. Days turned into weeks of chaos. The media seemed to have been awakened from a period of starvation for a subject of report on. And so, they feasted non-stop on Amara and the cobbler. The company's PR team tried to contain the damage and asked her to make an apologetic statement and save her face and the face of the company. Her board members urged her to apologize and focus on rebuilding her image. But Amara refused to apologize for being human. She kept seeing Chuka, but now in quieter places. They met by the lagoon sometimes, where the wind drowned the noise of the city. He would hold her hand and say, "Don't let their noise steal your peace. They only have their mouths to talk, not your destiny." And she would smile, wondering how a man who owned so little could give her peace so rich. What's the point of having everything if you can't have yourself? Yet the world wasn't done testing them. One evening, Chuka's kiosk was found burned down. No culprit was caught and no one confessed, but everyone knew it was a message. Amara rushed to him with tears streaming. Why would they do this? He shrugged, weary but not broken. They think they can burn me out of your life. But fire does not kill love, my dear. It just makes it stronger. She hugged him tightly, her tears wetting his chest. He whispered, "You sure you want this life, Amara? With me? The way it is going, it may not be easy." Oh. She looked into his eyes, those same eyes that once pulled her out of fear, and said, "I've lived the easy life, Chuka. Maybe it's time I lived the right one."
Come on, beautiful people. Tell me what you are thinking right now. How do you think this story will end? Are you thinking what I am thinking? So, let me know what you think about the story in the comment below. Oh, I love to hear your comments, and that way the story continues. Please, don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed already, and also remember to share the story with your loved ones for a good time. Stay blessed.